When the republic is confused and when the law is twisted, when the word is ignored, there must be an immediate briefing. Fellow Americans, here he is, straight from the heart of Toto town, within the clandestine chambers of the world-famous conservative college, America's favorite professor, officially recognized as first in the nation. This is The Briefing with Professor Toto.
From the heart of Toto town, hello America. This is Professor Toto, bringing to you tomorrow's news today. Stay tuned. We're about to talk about the FACE Act. It's that time again. Professor Toto coming to you from the heart of Toto town. No, it's not a regularly scheduled broadcast, but it is a necessary, urgent, timely broadcast. I know it's cold all over America, but it's very cold in Minnesota. Tragedy. It's all over the news today. And I'm going to explain it all to you. I'm going to break it down. You get ready. This is going to be the talk of the town for the next week. You need to be educated, know what you're talking about. And there is no one better to educate you than the very man that told the world 5 days ago about the FACE Act. Oh, before you ever heard about it. Before the news talked about it, and before that act was violated in Minnesota by this fruitcake. Don Lemon, the new face of the FACE Act. We're going to talk about Don because it's time for him to face the FACE Act, and it's time for every one of you to grab your pencils, your pads, and your understanding and listen carefully, because what you're going to learn today, you could have learned 5 days ago on the Professor Toto show. That's right. Before anyone had ever heard of the FACE Act, there was something deep within me that said, you've got to get this news to the world. And I did it Tuesday night. It's time-stamped. You can go watch it. And what I want to do, bear with me, we're going to go through the FACE Act, what it is, so that you can be ready to give an answer to anybody that asks you. But I want to tell you how I came to understand the FACE Act. My congregation is very familiar with what happened in Minnesota yesterday. And as a matter of fact, when I watched what happened, I literally was there. All the memories came back. 7 times our congregation in Waveland, Mississippi endured the exact same law breaking of the FACE Act. We didn't know it at that time, but we endured the same bullhorns, the same intimidation, the same screaming, the same chasing, the same fear. Our children traumatized. 7 times in the last 3 years, we have identified with that. But the sad thing is, we did not know there was a remedy. We sit there and took it. We turned the other cheek. We said nothing. Our local police department knew nothing about the FACE Act. Like many of you, they thought that these people had a right to protest. And sadly, in America, we think protesting is the same as peaceable assembly. There's no right in America for you to peaceably assemble. So I'd like to take you back to last Tuesday night and show you where I told you about the FACE Act before the world did, because you need to be aware Now, originally, this law was created to protect girls going in for abortion. You are not allowed to scream. You're not allowed to get on a bullhorn. You're not allowed to call out to the people walking in. You're not allowed to intimidate them or try to interfere with what they're doing. I didn't realize that inside of that act, it included one other place: houses of worship. Let me read the law to you. There might be some of you that want to listen real close for what's coming. It says, whoever by force or threat of force or by physical obstruction intimidates or interferes or attempts to intimidate or interfere with any person lawfully exercising their First Amendment right of religious freedom at a house of religious worship shall be subject to federal criminal. Now, that was 5 nights ago on the Professor Toto show. Most of you watch that show faithfully. If you do, you were the first informed in America, because for 34 years, that law that I just read has been on the books. That's right. And nobody knew about it. Nobody. As a matter of fact, we thought that law applied to abortion clinics because of the name of the law. FACE is access to clinics. And so we always thought that's what it was about. Okay. But that's not true. And today I'm going to teach you about the FACE Act. And yes, it protects your church from bullhorns, from protesters. Do you know, according to the FACE Act, that protesters have to stand 2 football fields away from a house of worship, or they've committed a federal crime? No, I didn't know that. I wish to God I would have. I wish my local police department would have known about it, but they do now. Oh, yes, they do. Let's watch what happened yesterday.
Watch this guy here. Look, he's hugging his kid. And, you know, I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful. It's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please. Really slippery. Not kidding. That's what protesting is about. And so
this man just lied to America, and America believed it. He said that's what protesting is about. He's 1,000% wrong. And Don's about to find out just how wrong he is. Oh, he's about to find out, because moments ago, it was official. Don Lemons has been referred to the Department of Justice for prosecution under the FACE Act. He was just referred moments ago for criminal prosecution under the FACE Act. Now, that man yesterday watched families afraid. He watched children crying, and he said, and I quote, "There is a father leaving with a child in his hands. I'm sure this is uncomfortable for them, but this is what protest is all about, to make you uncomfortable." I want you to listen. A father scared, holding his child, not knowing if these crazy protesters in the day and age we live in are packing a weapon, and as soon as things get heated, somebody's going to get shot. Thank God nobody did. But you see, it doesn't have to get violent to violate the FACE Act. No, ma'am. Not a moment violent. It just has to get loud, intimidating, and interfering. And you have committed a federal crime, and you're about to hear about the FACE Act. My church will tell you they were the first people in America to understand the FACE Act. But you are fixing to get well acquainted of it. Some of you very well. Because, brothers and sisters, there is one thing that every American has a right to do, and it's not the right to protest. It's the right to peaceably assemble and worship their God without any fear, intimidation, or persuasion of any kind. So that's what we're talking about today. You might want to hit the share button, because now I'm going into education mode. I'm about to educate you. We're fixing to go through this act. We're fixing to explain to you what's about to happen. Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. If anybody gets you this video some way, somehow, this is the hill to live or die on. The FACE Act. Pam Bondi, this is your moment. This is your moment. Take it. This will save you with MAGA. Okay? This is the moment. So as we talk about the FACE Act today, I want you to understand what protest is all about. Protest is never allowed if it's not peaceable. So when Don Lemon said that's what protest is about, to make people uncomfortable, no. Protest was to redress or address your government, not the people. The right of peaceable assembly was never to intimidate Americans, your fellow citizen. It was to address your government. A house of worship is not your government. You have zero right to protest a church. Zero. Contrary-wise, that church has a constitutionally protected right to assemble in peace and worship their God. That's called making America great again. That is America first. So, Don Lemons, if your group wants to protest, or the group you were reporting on supposedly, you need to back way up 2 football fields. That's federal law. 500 feet away from ministry land, ministry churches, abortion clinics, 500 feet. That's nowhere near the church doors. And listen, you don't have to go in the church to violate the FACE Act. You get anywhere near it, you're a federal criminal. The moment you step inside that 500-foot zone with intent to intimidate, the moment you bring a bullhorn within earshot of a worshiper, the moment you make a father or mother fear for their child's safety, especially when they know you're packing, you've crossed a line, not just a moral line, a legal line, a federal line. And I felt what those people felt yesterday. I felt what they felt. I've been there, and may the wrath of God come down on every federal criminal that dare intimidate a worshiper, an American citizen expressing their freedom to worship in the United States of America. Pam Bondi, wake up. It's your turn. Today we're going to squeeze the lemon, the Don lemon, and we're going to make Don and everybody that thinks like him face it. Credit to Pat Call for giving me that line. It's time to face the FACE Act. Literally, face it. And by the time I'm done with you today, you're going to understand why Don Lemon is about to have a very bad year, my friend, with his sodomite loving self that hates the work of God. He hates the church, Christian values, the word of God, that stands against his abominable lifestyle, and that he loved what happened yesterday, intimidating the house of worship. Welcome to the Conservative College. I'm Professor Toto, folks. You're going to want to sit down, sit back, because what I'm fixing to teach you will change everything you thought you knew about your rights as a worshiper in the United States of America. 5 days ago, I sat in this chair, told you about a law, a federal law, a law that's been sitting on the books for 31 years, and almost nobody in America knew it existed. I called it America's best kept legal secret. It was kept secret from Professor Toto. I would never have known it. 5 days ago, I was finalizing a lawsuit that's about to be released, and it'll probably make national news. When it is, you'll hear about it. And as I was preparing the lawsuit is when I ran into the FACE Act. Yesterday, folks, the Department of Justice cited the law that I found 5 days ago and told the world about. Yesterday, the Justice Department cited that law. The White House cited, it's like an echo. I said it on Tuesday night, and now the White House, Department of Justice, the whole nation saying the FACE Act. But it started here. You know what else started at this ministry? January the 6th. The first time it was ever spoken was on this microphone, non-golden, but yet the microphone of magnanimity. You heard January the 6th first right here. You heard religious exemption letters first right here. And you heard the FACE Act first right here. I don't know what it is about the first fruit of the first harvest ministries, but something about that word first. The Assistant Attorney General of the United States just put a CNN anchor on notice because of the FACE Act. The same law I told you about 5 days ago. I want you to think about that. Let it sink in. 5 days ago, before the Department of Justice invoked this statute, I was right here telling you, go check the video, January 13th, 2026. So what is the law? What is the secret that they kept from the church for 3 decades? That blows my mind, that for 3 decades, the church did not know it was protected. It's called the FACE Act, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, 18 U.S. Code 248, if you want to do your research. Now, I know what you're thinking, Professor Toto, that's the abortion clinic law. That's the law that they used when they want to throw grandmothers in jail for praying the rosary in front of an abortion clinic. That's the law that Biden weaponized against pro-life activists. And you're right. That is how they used it for 30 years. One way, one direction, and to protect one group of Americans. But here's what they never told you. Never. They never told you this. The FACE Act provides the exact same protection for houses of worship. Specifically, it literally says it in the act, and nobody saw it ever. Anything you're not allowed to do at an abortion clinic, think about it. Anything you're not allowed to do there, you're not allowed to do near a church. Bam. Do what? What is that I hear? Crickets? Yeah, it's fixing to get even a lot quieter in the world I live in. Read the statute and you will shake in your shoes. Brothers and sisters, it's right there in black and white. The law prohibits force, threats, obstruction, intimidation, or interference for anyone exercising their First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of worship. That applies to your church, your synagogue, your temple, protected, all protected by federal law with big federal penalties, up to 10 years for violating the FACE Act, plus civil lawsuits. Anything they own, anything they're connected to, any business they operate, all becomes liable in a lawsuit. Plus, you get punitive damages. So this church in Minnesota, every member of that church is fixing to become very wealthy. Oh, yes, the tithing is going to go way up, sir. Pastor in Minnesota, listen to Professor Toto. Get your bank account ready. Everybody I told that to 5 years ago, remember when they wanted you to take the jab? And I said, I'll write you a letter, and if they don't accept it, you'll become rich. It's already happened. Oh, yes, I told you so. Oh, I told you so. People's gotten rich because I told them they would get rich. Minnesota parishioners, don't worry. I know you're a little scared. I've been there. Our people's dealt with it. I know but trust me, you'll get the last laugh. Nobody told. For 30, I want you to say 31 years, nobody told the pastors of America, you don't have to put up with that. Nobody. Not our police, not our legislators. Nobody told us. Nobody told a church board. Nobody said to the congregation, you never have to be terrorized for walking into your church with mobs and bullhorns. They just let it happen. Me, just let it happen. Ignorance. Minnesota, Sunday morning, January the 18th, yesterday, at something called Cities Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. Families are gathering for worship, their First Amendment right to peaceably assemble in religious freedom. Children are there. Elderly members are there. They're there to pray. They're there to worship, to exercise their right. And then a mob shows up. No violence, just bullhorns. They're not holding signs. No, they're intimidating. They're bringing fear. They storm that area to make an impact. They want their voice to be heard. Don Lemon said that's what protesting is in America. They march right to that church and start screaming and chanting, justice for Renee Good, justice for Renee Good. They call out the name of a dead person. Inside the church, the children are crying, families are fleeing. And who's there with them? Who's live streaming the whole thing? Who's defending this? Lemonade, Don Lemon, the new face of the FACE Act, Don Lemons. That's who's there. Former anchor of CNN. I've come to tell you, Don, you're not just a journalist. You're supposed to be a constitutional scholar. You're not even a decent human if you can watch a scared father clutching his baby and say that's what protest is all about. Where do we live anymore? What nation is this? That's not protest, Don. That's terrorism. That's intimidation. And guess what? It's a federal crime. You're about to find out because you was right there in the midst of it, endorsing it, literally telling the pastor that these people had a First Amendment right to do what they were doing. Are you just dumb, Don? Are you that dumb? Here's the thing. Don't let Don Lemon know. The protesters didn't know. The activists didn't know because nobody told them. Well, I did, but they wasn't listening. For 30 years, this law was a secret, America. A one-way weapon against protesters at abortion clinics. You know how many protesters are in prison today for violating the FACE Act? What did they do? When someone got out of their car, they screamed out to that person. They're in federal prison today. Because within hours of that church invasion, Donald Trump's Department of Justice announced an investigation. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon said these words, and I quote, "The Civil Rights Division is investigating violations of the federal FACE Act by these people desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers." Did you hear that, Don? The FACE Act. Time to face it. And then she sent a message directly to Don Lemon, and she said, a house of worship. I want everybody to please, hold on. Let's do. Listen to me, please. Here's what she told Don. A house of worship is not a public forum. It is a space protected from exactly such acts by federal criminal and civil laws. Did you hear that? It is a protected space, 500 feet away from it. It's protected space in America. And then she said 4 words. You are on notice. Bam. Don Lemon is on notice. And I share her words. You are on notice. Now, I want you to understand what just happened. It's more than you realize. I don't believe in coincidences. Remember I told you 5 days ago I was the first in America to report on this act? I don't believe in coincidences, because the truth has a way of breaking through. And sometimes all the truth needs is a voice to activate it. And by the way, that word activate was used on a post from the Department of Justice, activated the FACE Act. Sometimes truth needs a man or a woman to open their mouth and activate that truth. And that's what I believe Professor Toto did a few nights ago, activated justice for American. This voice activated justice for January the 6th. This voice activated justice when you had to get vaccines. It was this voice that said religious exemption, and that brought justice to thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans from this voice. And it's this same voice that said the FACE Act. Why? Because little is much when God is in it. All God has ever needed is for a man on earth to open his mouth so that God's will may be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that mouth was open Tuesday night, January the 13th. Let me tell you why Congress passed this law in 1994. Let's go back. This law has been on the books since 1994. They were not just worried about abortion clinics. They were watching what was happening, and local police departments was telling churches, well, they have a right to protest. And churches were saying, okay. And Congress said, no, you're wrong, local police department. There is no right to intimidate worshipers. They don't have a right to protest. It's not free speech. The police department said there's nothing we can do. Wrong. Congress said you're wrong. There is no constitutional right to protest. Go ahead, search your Constitution. If you're watching me right now, I'll give anybody $1,000 on Cash App if you find the word protest in your Constitution. When you're finished searching, you'll find a word, peaceably assemble. I have a question for America. What you witnessed in Minnesota yesterday, was that peaceful? If not, it was illegal. The moment you storm into a sacred space 500 feet within a church, the moment you disrupt people that are going into worship, the moment you make children cry and families scared, you have forfeited any constitutional protection. Congress said, since we cannot rely on local uneducated police departments, we can't rely on local prosecutors, we need federal protection, and they created it, called it the FACE Act, for clinics and for churches. It was always there. We just never used it for churches until now. Do you know that First Harvest Ministries will be only the first of 3 churches in America to ever file under this act? That's why it will draw national attention. This is never, the church has never, in 31 years, has never used this act. Don't take my word for it. Let me give you a few winning cases, because everyone that's ever gone up has won. The DOJ versus the Congregation of the Torah. West Orange, New Jersey. That's right, an Israelite church. Yeah. September of 2025. This is the first time the FACE Act was ever used to protect a church. September 2025. And it was a Messianic Torah, Passover, Pentecost, Tabernacle, observing, clean eating congregation. Anti-Semitism ring a bell? When they came outside of that synagogue and they blew bullhorns and horns, the Department of Justice filed a FACE Act lawsuit, And Attorney General Pam Bondi said these words: "No American should be harassed, targeted, or discriminated against for peacefully practicing their religion." Amen, Pam. Now do something about it. The Department of Justice sought an injunction. Listen to that word carefully. You need to learn the difference in an injunction and a lawsuit. A lawsuit may take years, but an injunction takes days. The judge gave an injunction not only for the congregation of Torah, but for every synagogue in New Jersey, that no protester could come within 500 feet of it. No intimidation could come within 500 feet of any Jewish synagogue or Israelite congregation. They won. They won that injunction. Now, there's two other cases presently pending. First Liberty versus Code Pink, Mission Church, Carlsbad, California. That one is still active, but the injunction was granted. The third one is Stand With Us versus Code Pink, another Torah synagogue in Los Angeles. That one is still pending. You see the pattern? New Jersey, California, Los Angeles, Minnesota, and Mississippi. Ours is next. Every time mobs target houses of worship, the FACE Act is there. You remember that. If you're watching me right now and you're a pastor, minister, if you're watching me and your church has ever been intimidated by protesters, inbox me, brothervon@gmail.com. I will help you get the right attorney. I will send you to the Department of Justice who you need to talk to. I know who you need to talk to. They're standing by to press charges. You inbox me, I'll help you. We're fixing to end these demons that's fighting against the work of Yahweh in the last days. The law will win. The precedents are being set. My ministry is going to be one of the first in the nation to help set the precedent for the rest of America. Just like we were the first to announce January the 6th and the first to announce religious exemption letters, we will be among the first to bring protection to churches in America. You're not helpless, Pastor. You're not unprotected. The law is on your side. Remember, 500 feet, 2 football fields. That's the line. If protesters come within 500 feet of your church with a bullhorn, that is intimidation under federal law. If they're anywhere in that zone hindering access, that's physical obstruction under federal law. If they're standing anywhere visible where someone would be reasonably afraid to enter into worship. If they come on your property putting flyers on vehicles, they have violated the zone. It's a federal crime. If they create an atmosphere where families are afraid to come to church, that's exactly what the FACE Act was designed to stop. And you heard the FACE Act first with Professor Toto. Don't ever forget that, because we have a pattern that we're creating here. The name of our ministry is First Harvest Ministries. And here's what you can do about it. Are you ready? Number 1, file a federal lawsuit immediately. The moment you do, you get the power of subpoena. You will be able to subpoena every inbox message. If you can prove it was a coordinated campaign across state lines, it gets even better. You can subpoena Facebook. You can subpoena Instagram. You can subpoena anything you need to prove your case and to find out who's financing it, to find out where it originated from. You're going to get it all. See, they win in the beginning. You win in the end. You will get an injunction once you file a federal lawsuit that anything that is presently happening to intimidate you must be stopped or removed until the lawsuit comes to bear, a court telling them to stay away. After that comes the lawsuit, where you will recover compensatory damages, emotional damages, punitive damages, and all your attorney fees must be paid. and the Department of Justice will bring criminal charges. So once you leave the federal courthouse, you head on over to the Department of Justice here in Gulfport, Mississippi, or wherever you live. When you leave there, you head to the FBI. When you leave there, in our case, you head to the postmaster, and you begin the criminal prosecution. So I want every pastor to hear me today, and you listen well. You are protected. Christians are not helpless in America. We are the foundation of America. So to the protesters in Minnesota, I know some of those are activists, and you're thinking Professor Toto is just trying to silence dissent. No, I'm trying to educate you, because here's what you need to understand. The same law that they used against pro-life grandmothers applies to you now. The same law that sent elderly women to federal prison for literally trying to stop an abortion, it applies to your conduct now. You thought you were exempt, and we did too. You thought your cause was righteous enough to override the law. You thought churches was fair game. You were wrong. Any land, any home, any building that is on religious dedicated property falls under protection of the Federal FACE Act. And now everyone is on notice, because what happened in Minnesota yesterday, it is stirring up a nation. This has stirred a nation. What happened is a turning point. For 30 years, the FACE Act was a one-way weapon. That era is over. I declare it's over in America. For 30 years, churches had no recourse, but God's got a man named Donald Trump with the Department of Justice. I have the strange feeling, I want to sing I Told You So on this one. I have a strange feeling you're about to see a different Department of Justice concerning the FACE Act. I've got a feeling things are fixing to happen so much faster than you don't even believe Pam Bondi is going to do. I believe you're fixing to see something. For 30 years, mobs could terrorize congregations and hide behind free speech. That era is over. The law was always there. It just needed someone to find it. I found it 5 days ago. It just needed someone to read it. It's just like the Word of God. If you keep that book closed, none of its promises apply to you until you confess it with your mouth. Hallelujah. These laws were in hiding. Just needed somebody to find it and read it and do a podcast. Give it a voice. That's all. And on January the 13th, Professor Toto did exactly that. 5 days before the world found out. So here's what I need you to do. If you're a church leader, share this broadcast with your colleagues. Every church in America needs to know this law exists. There's also another law that goes along with the FACE Act. It's called a conspiracy against rights. If you can prove, and you'll have to subpoena Facebook and everybody else, but if you can prove that 2 or more people conspired together to intimidate your First Amendment rights, now they've gotten even a stronger law than the FACE Act, conspiracy against your rights to peaceably assemble. You prove that, and it just ups the ante. If you're an attorney watching me, I challenge you. You might want to go read 18 U.S. Code 248, because you're fixing to start getting phone calls like crazy. If you want to be ahead of the game, and if you want to make a lot of money, you need to, Mr. Attorney, please listen to me. The phone's fixing to ring. All of our judges in America, I have judges that watch Professor Toto. They email me. Get ready. Start studying the FACE Act, conspiracy against rights, conspiracy against civil rights, stalking, wiretapping, travel, the travel law, crossing state lines to be part of a conspiracy. Mr. Judge, get ready. It's coming to your courtroom very soon, all over the nation. Why? Pastors have just been awakened. They have rights they did not know they have. So, Pastor, let me encourage you, video everything. By the way, no protester is allowed to video anyone walking into your church. I don't know if you know that or not. They cannot stand on a corner with their phone, and they cannot film any person expressing their freedom to worship. But you can film their breaking of the law. Video everything. Photograph everything. And if they put it on the internet, before they take it down, you go and archive it in the Wayback Machine. Mr. Pastor, you're not without federal protection. The next time someone tries to intimidate your church, don't call the local police. They're not trained for that. Call the federal government. The establishment kept this one a secret for 31 years. They weaponized this law against abortion protesters, and they left the church completely unprotected. But the truth always has a way of breaking through. Sometimes the good guys win in the end. And sometimes, just sometimes, Professor Toto is just 5 days ahead. And Don, if you're watching, we squeezed the lemon, and now you're going to face it. So go watch the original podcast. If you don't have my daily blog, you need to go now, because everything I just taught you is in today's blog on Substack. Look for Professor Toto. There's only one in America. Go verify it. Go subscribe. It's free of charge. Go get that blog. Read it. Send it to